Fluorescent lights hum above the checkout lanes, casting a soft glare over rows of gum, tabloids, and last-minute snacks. Saturday crowds pour through the neighborhood supermarket. Carts squeak, scanners beep. A child laughs somewhere near the cereal aisle. At register 4, Jayden Carter, 16 and tall for his age, waits with a basket balanced against his hip, pasta, jarred sauce, garlic, a pack of paper bowls, and a small bouquet of sunflowers he picked up on impulse for his mom. He rehearses a mental checklist. Youth center dinner tonight, be back by 5, don't forget the bus card. Next, calls Rosa, the cashier with a honey-warm voice and a sticker of a smiling mango on her name tag. Jayden steps forward, sets the basket down, and offers a quick smile. Behind him, a sharp perfume cuts through the air. A woman in a navy blazer and pearl earrings, Mrs. Whitfield, mid-50s, posture like a ruler, halts at the taped line on the floor and stares at Jayden like he's a hazard sign. Her cart is heaped with gourmet items and a chilled bottle of Chardonnay sweating against the plastic seat. "I'm not standing behind him," she says, crisp and loud enough to clip the edges off the word him. Rosa's hands pause over the scanner. The bagger, an older man named Luis, glances up, then down, as if the floor might answer for him. Jayden, caught between a bottle of marinara and a bouquet of sunflowers, turns just enough to meet her eyes. His heart kicks, but his voice stays level. "The line starts back there," he says. "Like always." Mrs. Whitfield scoffs. "I was here first, and frankly, there should be a separate—" She stops, polishing the air with a tight smile that doesn't touch her eyes. "Accommodations for minors. This is a safety issue." A hush spreads 2 people deep. Then the murmurs start. A man in a postal hoodie shifts his packages to his other arm. A college student with earbuds tugs one out. A mom with a toddler strapped to her chest adjusts the strap and frowns. Rosa finds her voice. "Ma'am, the line is first come, first served." "I know what the line is," Mrs. Whitfield snaps. "I also know what kind of trouble stores get when they let teenagers loiter near the exits." "You," she points at Jayden's basket, "you people always take forever counting change." Jayden blinks. No change. His debit card is ready in his back pocket. The accusation lands anyway, sticky and public. He feels the old reflex rise. Apologize, shrink, move. But he thinks of the youth center kids waiting for dinner, the cook schedule taped to the fridge, his mom's laugh the last time he brought home sunflowers. He straightens a fraction. "I'm paying," he says. "Just like everybody." The college student clears her throat. "He's literally next. You can wait like everyone else." Mrs. Whitfield's smile thins. "I spend a great deal of money here. Do you?" She slaps the conveyor belt with a manicured nail. "Manager, now!" Rosa flashes the lane light. A gentle blue bulbs to life and begins to pulse. Beep, beep. A few phones tilt upward. Habit of a world that records. The postal worker mutters, "Here we go," under his breath. "Ma'am," Rosa says carefully, "there's no special line. He's a customer. You are too. That's it." Mrs. Whitfield leans on the cart, creating a barrier of chrome and judgment. "I won't be made to feel unsafe. He was blocking the aisle earlier, twice, and I saw him eyeing the—" She glances at the pharmacy wall as if plucking a word. "The more expensive items." Jayden's face warms. He thinks of how he had paused at the vitamins because his mom's been tired, how he counted bills in his head, how he put them back for now. The accusation is an eraser dragging across those small, ordinary thoughts. "Ma'am," he says, a notch firmer, "I'm here every Saturday. Ask anyone." Luis nods. He helps bag when it's busy. Good kid. Mrs. Whitfield's eyes flick to Luis, assessing, dismissing. "Is this how you treat valued patrons? By letting children cut? By indulging backtalk?" A small voice from the impulse candy rack. "He was here first," says the toddler, solemn and sticky, as if delivering a verdict. A ripple of soft laughter loosens the air. Even Jayden smiles, barely. The manager arrives. Mr. Patel, calm in a gray vest, radio clipped to his belt. "What seems to be the problem?" Mrs. Whitfield straightens like a flag catching wind. "This store is permitting inappropriate behavior. I refuse to stand behind." She gestures broadly, encompassing Jayden, the sunflowers, the whole moment. It's unsafe. I demand you ring me up now." Mr. Patel's eyes move from Jayden's basket to Rosa's still hands to the cluster of witnesses. He inhales, slow. Ma'am, our policy is to serve customers in order, and everyone in this store deserves respect. He turns to Rosa. Please continue. Rosa's shoulders ease. She scans the pasta. Beep! The sound feels like a heartbeat restarting. Jayden sets the flowers gently on the belt. Misses. Whitfield's nostrils flare. Are you serious? Do you know who I am? Do you? The college student whispers. A little braver now. The postal worker chuckles, low. Mrs. Whitfield wheels her cart forward, tires squealing against the floor's wax. If you won't protect me, I'll protect myself. She hooks the front of her cart into the narrow space between Jayden and the card reader, metal edging into his hip. It isn't an accident. Ma'am, Mr. Patel says, sharper, please step back. People shift closer without agreeing to. It happens the way flocks turn, a quiet alignment. The mom with the toddler moves her cart to block Mrs. Whitfield's angle. The postal worker edges in behind Jayden. The college student steps to his other side, earbuds coiled in her palm like a small rope. None of them touch her. None of them touch him. They simply occupy the space where harm tries to bloom. Mrs. Whitfield lifts her phone. I'm calling the police. Jayden's pulse trips. He hears the word like an alarm. For a beat, he sees the whole scene through luckier and unluckier versions of his life. Mr. Patel's voice stays even. There's no need for that. Security cameras are recording. The line will proceed as usual. If you feel you've been wronged, you may file a complaint with corporate. A camera's red LED blinks from the ceiling. One quiet eye, unblinking. A second blinks from a phone in aisle 7, another witness. And a third blinks inside Jayden, something learned and hard-won that says, stand, speak, breathe. He meets Mrs. Whitfield's gaze. I'm just buying dinner, he says. You can wait like me. Rosa slides the flowers across the scanner. Beep. The petals catch the light, bright as a small sun. The receipt printer whirs. The card reader chirps for attention. All around, the store takes a side, softly, firmly, one person at a time, until it feels like the floor itself is telling the truth. A line is a promise. And promises, kept together, are stronger than the loudest voice. Mrs. Whitfield's finger hovers over her phone screen, trembling with outrage and calculation. The choice hardens in her jaw. The red lane light keeps blinking. Beep, 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 and the entire store seems to lean toward what happens next. The silence in the checkout lane feels heavy, stretched thin like glass. Every beep of the register sounds louder, every shuffle of shoes sharper. Jayden stands still, his debit card in hand, the sunflowers lying gently in a paper bag. He feels all the weight of Mrs. Whitfield's stare burning into the side of his face, but around him something else is happening, something she doesn't control anymore. The mom with the toddler adjusts her stance, shielding her child slightly behind her hip as if to make a statement. I won't let you push him further. The college student keeps her phone raised, recording steadily, her jaw set. Louise, the bagger, folds another paper bag with deliberate slowness, refusing to be rushed by the tension. Mrs. Whitfield lowers her phone, just a fraction, her face red with a mix of outrage and disbelief. Unbelievable, she mutters, her voice trembling. This is harassment. I won't be treated this way. You're not the one being harassed, the postal worker says finally, his voice gravelly but clear. He doesn't raise it, but the truth in his tone carries through the aisle. You're doing the harassing. Heads nod. A few murmurs of that's right ripple through the shoppers waiting in other lanes. Some even step a little closer, abandoning their places just to make their presence felt. The energy shifts. What started as quiet discomfort transforms into quiet solidarity. Mr. Patel clears his throat. Ma'am, please, either continue your shopping peacefully or step aside. You are holding up the line. But Mrs. Whitfield only tightens her grip on her cart handle. I spend more in this store in a week than he'll make in a month, she snaps, gesturing toward Jayden without even looking at him. And you're really going to choose him over me? Jayden finally turns, meeting her eyes full on. He doesn't raise his voice, doesn't let anger spill. He just says, steady, it's not a choice. It's just what's fair. The words hang there, simple and unshakable. Rosa smiles faintly behind the register and hands him the receipt. You're all set, Jayden. Have a good evening. Jayden slides the card back into his wallet and picks up his bag. The sunflowers peek from the top, bright against the dull gray of the conveyor belt. He's ready to walk out, to leave this ugly scene behind, but the store itself doesn't let it end so easily. Because the people aren't done. The college student lowers her phone just enough to be heard. Ma'am, this video is already uploading. Maybe think twice about how you're acting. Mrs. Whitfield stiffens. You wouldn't dare. I would, the student says, her eyes fierce. Everyone here saw what you did. Everyone here knows who was in line first. A murmur of agreement builds like a rising tide. A man from aisle 3 calls out, We got witnesses, lady. Another shopper adds, It's not going to play out the way you think. For the first time, Mrs. Whitfield falters. She looks around, searching for an ally, but sees only eyes, watchful, unwavering, unafraid. The superiority she walked in with drains as quickly as the blush spreads across her cheeks. Still, pride digs in. She squares her shoulders. This isn't over. Mr. Patel's tone hardens. It is over, ma'am. If you can't respect other customers, I'll have security escort you out. Gasps ripple again. The threat is real this time. The power has shifted, firmly and completely. Jayden exhales slowly, clutching his bag closer to his side. He thinks of saying more, thinks of reminding her that kids like him are taught to hold their breath every time someone says I'm calling the police. But he doesn't. He doesn't need to. The store has spoken for him. He nods at Rosa, at Luis, at the strangers who stood with him. Thank you, he says quietly, and begins walking toward the sliding glass doors. As he moves, people part. Not because they want him out, but because they want him clear of her. A safe path. A visible act of respect. Even the toddler waves a small hand, whispering, Bye. And then something unexpected happens. The applause begins. Not loud, not thunderous, just a smattering at first, from the postal worker, then from the college student, then from Rosa herself. It grows, uncoordinated but real, until the sound fills the checkout area. Mrs. Whitfield stands frozen, her face pale against the harsh store lighting as the boy she tried to humiliate walks away to the sound of clapping. Outside, the evening air feels cooler than it should. Jayden takes a deep breath, the smell of sunflowers mixing with exhaust from the parking lot. His heart slows, but the echo of the applause lingers in his ears. He didn't ask for it, didn't expect it, but in a world where too often the crowd stays silent, this time the crowd chose a side. And for the first time in a long while, he feels less alone. The automatic doors hiss closed behind Jayden, and the applause fades into the hum of the parking lot. He adjusts the bag on his shoulder, the sunflowers peeking out at the world, and walks toward the bus stop. The moment lingers inside him, part relief, part exhaustion. He had faced people like Mrs. Whitfield before, but never with a crowd at his back. Inside the store, though, the story is far from over. The college student finishes recording and immediately opens her social media app. Her caption is sharp and simple. Woman refuses to stand in line behind black teen. The whole store clapped back. She hits upload without hesitation. By the time Jayden boards the bus, the video has already traveled farther than he can imagine. Notifications light up across phones. Comments flood in, and the first reposts begin rolling out. At home, Denise, Jayden's mother, sits at the kitchen table with bills spread out like a battlefield. Her phone buzzes. A friend has tagged her in a video. She presses play, expecting a funny clip, maybe a recipe. Instead, she sees her son. Her heart lurches into her throat. Jayden stands at the register, calm but firm. She hears the woman's words, her accusations, the venom in her tone. Denise grips the phone tighter. She almost drops it when she sees the cart shove into his side. Her breath catches. Then she hears the applause, sees strangers standing for her boy, and tears blur the screen. She whispers to the empty kitchen, That's my son. By the time Jayden walks through the front door, still clutching the bag with sunflowers drooping slightly to the side, Denise is waiting. She pulls him into a fierce hug, nearly crushing the groceries between them. Mom, Jayden says, startled. I'm fine. No, she answers, her voice breaking. You're brave. The next morning, the video has exploded. Thousands of shares, comments pouring in from across the country. That young man handled himself with more dignity than most adults I know. Shout out to the bystanders for not staying silent. This is why we need to keep recording. Some comments are cruel too. The same tired rhetoric, the same hate dressed in new words. But for every one of those, there are 10 voices rising in defense of Jayden. The store issues a brief statement. We stand with all our customers. Discrimination has no place in our community. Local news stations pick up the clip. By evening, Jayden's face is on television screens across town. At school the next day, whispers chase him down the hallway. His classmates pull out their phones, replaying the clip. "That's him," someone says. "That's Jayden." A few clap when he passes. Others just watch, unsure of how to react. Jayden feels the weight of eyes everywhere he goes. At lunch, his best friend Malik drops a tray onto the table and shakes his head with a grin. "Man, you're famous." "I don't want to be famous," Jayden mutters, poking at his fries. "Too late. You're trending." Malik holds up his phone, the screen filled with likes and shares. "But look at this. People are proud of you. You know how rare that is?" Jayden doesn't answer right away. He thinks of the fear in his chest when Mrs. Whitfield said police. He thinks of the sting in his hip when the cart nudged him. Fame doesn't erase that, but then he thinks of the toddler's voice. He was here first. He thinks of the applause. Maybe Malik's right. Maybe this means something bigger than just one moment. Meanwhile, Mrs. Whitfield's world tilts. Her face is caught clearly in the video, her words unmistakable. Neighbors forward it. Colleagues whisper. By Tuesday, her employer announces an internal review. The country club she brags about calls an emergency board meeting. She tells anyone who will listen that she's the real victim, that the video was taken out of context. But the context is plain. The internet doesn't forget, and this time, it doesn't excuse. At the store, Rosa and Luis become minor local heroes themselves. "Those workers did the right thing," people comment. Customers bring flowers, gift cards, even thank you notes. The checkout lane feels different now, lighter, stronger. Late that night, Jayden sits at his desk, homework spread out in front of him. His phone buzzes with another notification, a journalist requesting an interview. He sighs. Fame feels heavy, but he can't deny the story has a life of its own. He picks up the sunflowers, now wilting in their vase, and moves them closer. Their brightness is fading, but their meaning hasn't. He saved them from being crushed in that cart. Somehow, they survived. And so did he. Jayden doesn't know what comes next. News crews, more interviews, maybe even hate from people who never met him. But he knows one thing. He didn't back down. And because of that, maybe someone else won't either. The morning after the story makes the evening news, the small supermarket looks different. A line of customers snakes through the parking lot, some holding signs that read, "Respect for all," and "We stand with Jayden." Others carry flowers, leaving them near the entrance like offerings. The once ordinary store has become a gathering place, a symbol of a neighborhood refusing to look away. Inside, Rosa and Luis work their usual shifts, but every customer seems to pause just a little longer to thank them. "You stood up when it mattered," one man says, dropping off coffee for the staff. Rosa smiles, embarrassed but proud. Luis shrugs, but later, when no one's looking, he wipes his eyes. Jayden doesn't go to the store that morning. He stays home, sprawled on the couch with his textbooks open but unread. His phone buzzes non-stop. Requests for interviews, messages from strangers, praise, anger, everything tangled into one stream. He silences it, flips the phone face down. Fame still feels like an accident he never asked for. His mother, Denise, sits beside him. "You okay?" she asks softly. "I don't know," Jayden admits. "Everyone's talking like I did something huge, but all I did was stand in line." Denise rests a hand on his shoulder. "Sometimes standing your ground is huge, especially when people expect you to move." Jayden stares at the dark screen of his phone, thinking about that. Meanwhile, Mrs. Whitfield's life unravels further. At her office, HR calls her in. "We've seen the video," they tell her. "This behavior does not align with our company values." By the end of the day, she's placed on leave. The news spreads quickly. Her face circulates online with captions that cut deeper than any headline she's ever read. At first, she clings to anger, telling anyone who'll listen that she's misunderstood. But even her closest friends avoid her calls now. The video is too clear, too undeniable. Alone in her home, she scrolls through comment sections that call her everything she's spent years pretending not to be. That evening, Jayden reluctantly agrees to attend a community meeting at the youth center where he volunteers. Malik drags him there, insisting it's important. When they walk in, the room is packed. Neighbors, parents, kids, even city officials. A banner on the wall reads, "Respect starts here." Applause ripples as Jayden enters. He flushes, wishing he could disappear. Malik nudges him forward. "Go on, say something." Jayden shakes his head. "I'm not a speaker." "Doesn't matter," Malik says. "You're the reason they're here." Mr. Patel, the store manager, steps up to the podium. "We've all seen what happened. We've all seen how one moment exposed something bigger than a grocery line, and tonight, we're here to make sure it leads to change. He gestures toward Jayden. This young man showed more grace than many adults could. He deserves to be heard. The crowd turns to Jayden. Dozens of eyes waiting. His palms sweat. He thinks of leaving, but Denise's voice echoes in his head. Sometimes standing your ground is huge. So he stands. I didn't do anything special, he begins, voice trembling but steadying as he goes. I was just buying groceries. She wanted me to move because of who I am, not because of anything I did. And for a second, I almost did move, because that's what we're taught, to avoid trouble, to keep our heads down. But then I thought, why should I? I wasn't wrong. And if I moved, she'd just do it to the next person. The room is silent, every word absorbed like water into dry ground. So I stayed, Jayden finishes. That's all. Applause bursts out, louder than he expects. Not polite, but passionate. People rise to their feet, clapping, cheering, some even whistling. Jayden stands frozen, overwhelmed. For the first time, he sees it, the way his small act has grown into something larger, something communal. After the meeting, a city council member approaches him. Jayden, we're starting a campaign to expand anti-discrimination training for businesses in our area. We'd like you to be part of it. Jayden stammers. Me? I'm just a kid. You're a kid who reminded adults how to be brave, the council member replies. Malik grins. Told you you're famous. Jayden rolls his eyes, but inside something shifts. Maybe this isn't just about fame. Maybe it's about responsibility. Later that night, scrolling through messages again, Jayden notices one that stands out. It's from someone he doesn't know, but the words hit hard. My little brother saw your video. He said, if he can stand up, maybe I can too. Thank you. Jayden sets the phone down, heart pounding. He realizes now, it wasn't just about groceries. It was never just about groceries. It was about showing others they don't have to move aside. And that, he thinks, is worth all the noise. Mrs. Whitfield wakes to a buzzing phone and the faint glow of morning light slicing through her blinds. Dozens of missed calls, hundreds of messages, notifications stacking endlessly. Her face is everywhere. Screenshots, slowed clips, memes that twist her words into slogans of hate. She scrolls, each swipe another blow. She dials her sister, hoping for comfort, but the call goes straight to voicemail. At work, the HR director has stopped returning her emails. Even the church group she once led issues a statement distancing themselves. The walls of her life, carefully built over decades of privilege and control, crumble in days. In her kitchen, she whispers, "This isn't who I am." But the silence answers back. For once, nobody believes her. At the supermarket, Rosa and Luis exchange weary smiles as they stock shelves. The store feels busier than ever, part shoppers, part supporters. Customers shake their hands, thank them for standing firm. Local reporters hover near the entrance, catching interviews. It's strange, Luis mutters, stacking cans. We didn't do much, we just told the truth. That's what people needed, Rosa replies. Sometimes that's everything. They look up to see Jayden enter with his mother. Denise guides him gently, almost protectively, but Jayden walks tall, sunflower stems in his hand. He heads straight to Rosa's register. These are for you, he says, placing the flowers on the counter. For standing with me. Rosa blinks back tears. Jayden, you don't have to. I know, he interrupts, but I want to. Customers around them applaud softly, not the explosive clapping from before, but something gentler. Rosa accepts the flowers, her voice barely steady. Thank you, mijo. That means more than you know. Meanwhile, the video continues to ripple outward. News anchors debate it on morning shows. Civil rights groups share it with hashtags demanding accountability. Celebrities retweet with messages like, "This is why we must speak up." At school, Jayden's teachers notice the shift. Some treat him with new respect, calling on him more often, praising his answers. Others avoid eye contact, as if afraid of saying the wrong thing. His classmates bombard him with questions. What's it like to go viral? Are you going to be on TV? Do you feel like a hero? Jayden shrugs them off. I just stood in line. But inside, he feels the tug of something heavier. Expectation. The world now expects him to stand tall every time. And he's not sure he's ready. That weekend, Denise takes him downtown for a meeting she insists he attend. They enter a community center buzzing with voices. Posters line the walls. End everyday racism. Respect is a right. Jayden realizes quickly it's not just about him. His video was a spark, but the fire has been waiting. A woman from a local advocacy group approaches. Jayden, we'd like you to share your story at our rally next month. Young people need to hear it from someone their age. Jayden hesitates. Public speaking has never been his strength. But then he remembers the boy in the message, the one who said, "If he can stand up, maybe I can too." That's bigger than his fear. "I'll do it," he says, surprising even himself. Denise squeezes his shoulder, pride shining in her eyes. Across town, Mrs. Whitfield sits in her car outside the store she once ruled with her sharp tone and sharper checkbook. She watches as people gather with signs, as children laugh freely in the parking lot. She sees Jayden through the glass doors, smiling faintly at the cashier. She lowers her head. For the first time in years, she feels small. Inside, Jayden doesn't notice her. He's too busy listening to Malik chatter about the latest posts online, too busy thinking about the rally ahead. But if he had looked out the window just then, he might have seen a woman beginning to understand that the world has shifted without her. And maybe, just maybe, he'd realize that his choice to stay in line did more than defend himself. It forced others to confront what they'd rather ignore. That night, Jayden lies in bed, scrolling through messages. One catches his eye. "My grandmother always told me to move out of the way. After watching you, I won't anymore. Thank you." He stares at the words, heart thudding. Slowly, a thought takes root. Maybe this isn't just about a viral video. Maybe it's about changing how people see themselves. He closes his phone, the glow fading into darkness. The applause still echoes in his memory, but louder now is something else. The sound of voices rising together, no longer afraid to speak. And Jayden knows, deep down, this is only the beginning. The sun beats down on the city plaza, bouncing off the glass of tall buildings and shimmering across the pavement where hundreds have gathered. Signs sway in the crowd. Respect is non-negotiable. Stand tall. Like Jayden, equality every day. A stage has been set up in front of the courthouse, and a buzz of anticipation hums through the air. Jayden stands behind the stage curtain, his palms sweating against the note cards in his hand. He's never spoken to more than a classroom before, and now the plaza is packed shoulder to shoulder. Denise adjusts his collar, her face glowing with pride. "You don't need those cards," she whispers. "Just speak from your heart." Malik, bouncing on his toes beside them, grins. "Man, the whole city showed up for you. Just breathe. They already believe in you." Jayden peers through the curtain. The crowd stretches further than he imagined. Neighbors, classmates, local leaders, even strangers holding sunflowers like a quiet symbol. The image lodges in his chest, bright yellow blooms against a backdrop of chanting voices. The MC announces his name and a cheer erupts. Jayden's knees feel weak, but Malik nudges him forward. "Go on, brother. This is your moment." Jayden steps into the sunlight. The applause is deafening, rolling like thunder through the plaza. He squints, raising a hand awkwardly in thanks, then grips the podium. For a moment, his mind goes blank, but then he remembers the message from the little brother, the grandmother who said she wouldn't step aside anymore. He remembers Rose's tearful thank you and the applause inside the supermarket. He clears his throat. "I didn't ask to be here," he begins, his voice shaky. "I didn't plan to be on anyone's screen. I was just standing in line." The crowd quiets, hanging on his words. But what happened that day wasn't just about groceries. It was about respect. About someone deciding I didn't deserve to stand where I was because of how I look. And for a moment, I almost believed her. I almost moved. But then I realized, if I stepped aside, it wouldn't stop. She'd just do it again, to me or to someone else. Murmurs of agreement ripple through the listeners. So I stayed. And because I stayed, you all saw. You all spoke up. You all showed that one voice is stronger when it's joined by others. A cheer rises, signs thrust higher into the air. Jayden grips the podium tighter, his voice steady now. "I'm not special, I'm just a teenager trying to live my life. But what I learned is that dignity is worth holding on to, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. And if we can all remember that, if we can all stand firm, not just for ourselves but for each other, then maybe this world will finally be fairer." Applause explodes, echoing off the courthouse steps. Denise wipes tears from her eyes. Malik whistles loudly, cupping his hands around his mouth. Jayden steps back, overwhelmed but also lighter. The weight he's carried since that day in the store feels shared now. carried by everyone chanting in front of him. Among the crowd, Rosa and Luis watch proudly, snapping photos on their phones. "He's a natural," Luis says, shaking his head. "Didn't even need those cards." "Sometimes the truth doesn't need notes," Rosa replies softly. Nearby, a local news crew records every second. The anchor whispers to the cameraman, "This is bigger than a viral clip now. This is a movement." Across town, Mrs. Whitfield sits alone in her living room, the rally playing live on television. She watches Jayden at the podium, hears the thunderous applause, sees her own name mentioned in the crawl at the bottom of the screen. Local woman's actions spark movement. Her throat tightens. She reaches to lower the volume but can't bring herself to do it. The truth blares in her ears. She isn't the hero of this story. She's the cautionary tale. Back at the rally, the event closes with music and chants. Strangers clasp hands. Children wave their sunflower stems like flags. Jayden steps off the stage, greeted by hugs, handshakes, and thank yous. A councilwoman leans in, whispering, "You've started something important. We'll be in touch." As the crowd disperses, Malik claps him on the back. "See, I told you. You didn't just stand in line, you stood up." Jayden smiles faintly, looking at the plaza littered with sunflower petals. For the first time since that day, he doesn't feel like the scared kid at the register. He feels like someone who made a difference. And deep down, he knows this is only the beginning. The rally echoes through the city for days. Clips of Jayden's speech spread across social media, shared by influencers, community leaders, even politicians. Local papers run headlines like, "Teens Courage Sparks Movement," and "From Supermarket to City Plaza." One voice inspires thousands. For every supporter, though, there are critics. Late at night, Jayden scrolls through the flood of messages. Among the encouragement and praise, hateful comments stab through. "He's just playing the victim. Another kid trying to be a martyr. Stay in your lane." Jayden sets the phone down, his chest heavy. Denise notices his silence. She sits beside him, taking the phone gently. "You don't have to read them," she says. "But what if they're right?" Jayden murmurs. "What if I'm just making noise?" Denise cups his face, firm. "Noise can wake people up. Don't you forget that." At school, the atmosphere changes again. Some students call him the hero. Teachers invite him to speak in class about his experience. But a small group of kids mutter under their breath when he passes, rolling their eyes. One day at lunch, he hears it clearly. "That's the supermarket kid. Thinks he's special." Jayden stiffens, fists clenching under the table. Malik leans in. "Ignore them, man. They're jealous because they don't have your guts. But ignoring isn't easy." The whispers trail him everywhere. Fame had felt heavy before. Now it feels like a target. Meanwhile, Rosa and Luis experience their own version of backlash. A letter arrives at the store accusing them of disrespecting customers by siding with Jayden. Rosa crumples it with shaking hands. Luis mutters, "Cowards don't sign their names." Still, the tension gnaws at them. For every customer who thanks them, there's another who glares, avoiding their lane. The managers reassure them, promising support, but the air at work has changed. "We did the right thing," Rosa reminds herself at night, though sometimes she wonders if the cost will linger longer than the applause. One evening, Jayden receives a message request from an unfamiliar account. Curiosity pushes him to open it. The sender claims to be Mrs. Whitfield's daughter. "I know my mother was wrong. I've been trying to talk to her, but she won't listen. I wanted to say I'm sorry, even if she never does." Jayden stares at the words, conflicted. Anger bubbles up. This family is the reason his life was turned upside down, but another part of him feels the weight of the apology, however indirect. He types back slowly. "I appreciate you saying that. I just hope she learns." When he hits send, relief washes over him. Not forgiveness, not yet, but a step. Mrs. Whitfield herself grows more isolated. Her employer officially terminates her. The country club revokes her membership. Even the neighbors she once lorded over cross the street when she approaches. She calls local radio to defend herself, but the host cuts her off. "The video speaks for itself," he says flatly. Sitting alone in her dim kitchen, she replays the clip again and again. Each time she tells herself she was provoked, that she was tired, that people misunderstood, but deep down, a truth presses harder. The world finally saw who she was when no one was supposed to be looking. Back at the youth center, Jayden helps a group of younger kids with homework. One boy asks, Is it true you told that lady she couldn't push you out of line? Jayden chuckles softly. Something like that. The boy's eyes widen. I wish I could do that. Sometimes people push me around too. Jayden sets down his pencil, leaning in. Listen, it's not about fighting. It's about knowing you belong where you are. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. The boy nods, his face lighting up. That moment stays with Jayden long after the homework is done. He realizes he's not just surviving the backlash, he's planting seeds in the next generation. Still, the weight of everything gnaws at him at night. Lying in bed, he remembers the shove of the shopping cart, the venom in Mrs. Whitfield's voice. He remembers the roar of applause too, the rally, the sunflowers raised in the air. He whispers into the darkness almost to himself, it has to be worth it. And in the quiet of that thought, he begins to believe it is. The days after the rally blur together. Jayden juggles schoolwork, endless interview requests, and the heavy weight of being seen as a symbol. The supermarket incident that once felt small now follows him everywhere. On TV, on TikTok, in whispered conversations at bus stops. He can't step into a store without someone recognizing him. One afternoon, as he walks home from school, a police cruiser slows beside him. The window rolls down and an officer leans out. Jayden's stomach tightens. You're the kid from the video, right? The officer asks. Jayden nods cautiously. The officer studies him for a moment, then says, keep speaking up. People are listening. He drives off before Jayden can respond. For the first time, Jayden feels the shift isn't just in his neighborhood. It's seeping into the wider city, even into institutions that rarely admit fault. At home, Denise notices his exhaustion. You can take a step back, she suggests gently. You don't have to carry the world on your shoulders. But Jayden shakes his head. If I step back, it all fades. Then what was the point? Denise sighs. She wants to protect him, but she knows this path isn't hers to walk. Meanwhile, Mrs. Whitfield sinks deeper into isolation. Every morning she wakes to fresh articles dissecting her downfall. She tries to attend church, but people whisper as she enters, and one woman even stands saying, you should be ashamed. Mrs. Whitfield leaves before the first hymn. At home, she stares at her reflection, remembering the confidence she once wielded like armor. That armor is gone, and for the first time she admits aloud, I did this. To him, to myself. But she still doesn't know what to do with that truth. At the youth center, preparations for Jayden's speech at the statewide rally ramp up. Malik jokes to lighten the mood. Bro, you're about to be on the same stage as senators and pastors. Better practice your autograph. Jayden groans, but Rosa, who has stopped by after her shift, smiles warmly. Don't let the stage scare you. Just remember the line at the store. That's where this started. Speak like you're still there, like you're still standing your ground. Her words steady him. The night before the rally, Jayden barely sleeps. He dreams of standing in line, the shove of the shopping cart, Mrs. Whitfield's voice dripping with contempt. But in the dream, he doesn't freeze. He speaks louder, clearer, his words echoing through the store until every shopper turns to listen. When he wakes, sweat clings to his forehead, but so does resolve. The next day, the Capitol is alive with energy. Buses unload crowds carrying banners, students in matching t-shirts march in, and the steps of the Capitol building transform into a sea of voices demanding change. Jayden stands backstage again, but this time the crowd is bigger, the stakes higher. His note cards tremble in his hand. Denise squeezes his shoulder. Malik gives him a playful shove. You got this, Malik says simply. When Jayden's name is called, the plaza erupts. He steps forward, the microphone warm beneath his hand. He takes a deep breath. I was just a kid buying groceries, he begins, his voice ringing clear, but that day showed me something I'll never forget. Prejudice doesn't just hurt one person, it poisons entire communities. It tells us some people don't belong, when the truth is, we all do. The crowd leans in. I stayed in line because I knew I belonged there. But I've learned something since. Belonging isn't just about me, it's about all of us. If one person is shoved aside, we all lose. If one person is silenced, none of us are free. Cheers ripple across the plaza, but Jayden doesn't stop. His voice grows steadier, his conviction sharper. We can't wait for someone else to fix this. Change starts with us, at the checkout line, in the classroom, at the dinner table. Every time we choose to see each other with respect, we make the world better. And every time we let hate slide, we make it worse. By the time he finishes, the plaza roars. Strangers hug, Children wave their signs high, and chants rise louder than the traffic around them. Jayden steps back, overwhelmed but certain. This is where he's meant to be. In the crowd, Mrs. Whitfield watches from the edge, a hood pulled low over her face. She didn't plan to come, but something compelled her. Hearing Jayden's words, seeing the hope on people's faces, she feels the weight of her own actions press harder. For the first time, instead of resisting the shame, she lets it settle. She whispers, almost to herself, "I was wrong." No one hears her, but admitting it feels like the first crack of light in a long, dark tunnel. The rally's echoes linger long after the crowd disperses. Social media floods with clips of Jayden's words, each share carrying his voice further. At school, kids who once mocked him now nod in quiet respect. Even some teachers, previously distant, greet him warmly. But Jayden isn't celebrating. Something gnaws at him. The sight of Mrs. Whitfield in the crowd. He's certain it was her, even with the hood. That image haunts him. One evening, as Denise clears dinner plates, there's a knock on the door. Jayden glances through the window and freezes. Mrs. Whitfield stands on the porch, clutching her purse like a shield. Denise stiffens but opens the door halfway. "What do you want?" Mrs. Whitfield's voice trembles. I need to speak to your son." Jayden steps forward before Denise can answer. His heart pounds, but he forces his voice steady. "Why are you here?" Mrs. Whitfield lowers her gaze. "To apologize. To you, to your mother, to everyone who saw what I did. I thought I could ignore it, tell myself it was a mistake, but it wasn't. It was hate, and it came from me." Silence stretches. Denise crosses her arms, her eyes cold. "You humiliated my child in front of strangers. You nearly broke him." Mrs. Whitfield nods, her shoulders sagging. "I know. I can't undo it, but I can admit it, and I can try to change." Jayden studies her. Part of him wants to slam the door, but another part, the part that stood firm at that checkout line, knows this moment matters. "Apologies aren't words," he says quietly. "They're actions. If you want to change, prove it. Don't come here asking us to forgive you so you can feel better. Do something that makes this world better." Mrs. Whitfield's eyes glisten. She whispers, "You're right." Then she steps back from the porch, her figure swallowed by the night. Days later, word spreads that Mrs. Whitfield has joined a local community program focused on racial reconciliation. She attends meetings quietly, listening more than speaking. Some scoff, saying it's too late for her. Others, though, see the small steps as a sign that even the hardest hearts can shift. Jayden doesn't know if he'll ever forgive her, but he doesn't need to. Not yet. What matters is that the power she tried to strip from him now belongs to him and to everyone who stood with him. Meanwhile, the city council announces plans to introduce new anti-discrimination policies for local businesses, citing Jayden's story as a catalyst. News outlets pick it up with headlines like, "Teens' Courage Sparks Legislative Action." At the youth center, Rosa and Luis beam as they read the article aloud. "Can you believe this?" Luis says, shaking his head. "All because you refused to move." Jayden blushes, staring at the floor. "Not just me, because you didn't move either." Rosa squeezes his shoulder. "That's the point. None of us can do it alone." But fame carries its own burden. One night, Jayden receives an email from a woman across the country. She describes how her daughter faced harassment at school and how watching Jayden's video gave her courage to speak up. The message ends. "You showed her she deserves to stand tall. Thank you." Jayden stares at the words, tears prickling his eyes. He realizes this is bigger than a supermarket, bigger than one city. It's spreading like roots under the soil, unseen but unstoppable. At home, Denise watches her son with quiet awe. She sees the boy who once doubted his worth transforming into a young man others look to for strength. Late one night, she whispers a prayer of thanks, her voice breaking with gratitude. "You've turned pain into purpose," she tells him one morning, brushing his hair from his forehead. "That's not easy, but it's what leaders do." Jayden shakes his head. "I'm not a leader." Denise smiles knowingly. "Then why is the world following?" The next weekend, Jayden attends a gathering at the community center. Children crowd around him, asking for selfies, wanting to hear the story firsthand. He kneels, meeting their eyes. "It's not about me," he tells them. "It's about you. You belong anywhere you stand. Don't let anyone tell you different." Their faces light up, and in that moment, Jayden sees the future, brighter, braver, carried by voices stronger than hate. Weeks pass and Jayden's story no longer feels like a single event. It feels like a current running through the city. Everywhere he goes, people recognize him, not as the supermarket kid anymore, but as the young man who stood his ground and refused to let hate push him aside. One Monday morning, the principal calls Jayden to the office. Jayden's stomach knots. Old habits whisper he's in trouble. But when he enters, the principal is smiling. On the desk sits a letter embossed with a state seal. "You've been nominated for the Youth Courage Award," the principal says proudly. "They're holding the ceremony downtown. Your name was put forward by the community center and the committee unanimously approved." Jayden stares at the letter, stunned. "An award? For me?" The principal nods. "For you. For what you stood for. You turned a moment of cruelty into a movement of hope." Jayden leaves the office in a daze. Malik nearly falls off his chair when he hears, "Dude, you're gonna be famous, like TV famous." Jayden groans, shoving him playfully. "Stop, it's not about fame." "Exactly," Malik replies, "and that's why you deserve it." The weeks leading up to the ceremony are a whirlwind. Denise helps Jayden pick out a suit, fussing over the tie. Rosa and Luis stop by with gifts, a pair of polished shoes, a small notebook for speeches. Even kids from the youth center pitch in, creating handmade cards that read, "Thank you for standing tall." Jayden accepts it all with humility, though part of him still feels like the same boy who froze when a woman shoved a cart into his back. The night of the ceremony arrives. The hall is filled with city officials, educators, activists, and families. The air hums with anticipation. Jayden sits in the front row, his mother on one side, Malik on the other. Denise squeezes his hand. When his name is called, Jayden rises to the sound of thunderous applause. He walks to the stage, lights blinding, heart pounding. The host hands him a plaque engraved with his name and the words, "Youth Courage Award." Jayden grips the microphone, scanning the crowd. He sees Rosa and Luis beaming in the back, kids from the youth center waving, and strangers clapping like they've known him all his life. He takes a breath. "I never thought I'd be standing here. I didn't set out to win an award. I was just trying to buy groceries. But when someone tried to shove me aside, I realized something. If I moved, it wouldn't stop. It would just happen again, to me or someone else." The hall quiets, every eye locked on him. So I stayed. And because I stayed, others stood with me. That's what courage really is. It's not standing alone. It's knowing that when you hold your ground, people will step up beside you. My hope is that every young person here tonight knows they belong. Not because of an award, not because of a speech, but because they are worthy of respect every single day. The applause crashes over him like a wave. Denise wipes tears from her eyes. Malik shouts, "That's my brother!" loud enough for half the hall to hear. After the ceremony, Jayden is swarmed with congratulations. A senator shakes his hand, promising to keep pushing for stronger anti-discrimination laws. A teacher from another school tells him, "Your story is already part of our curriculum." Children line up for pictures, clutching his plaque like it's their own. But one face stands out. At the edge of the crowd, Mrs. Whitfield lingers, hesitant. For once, she doesn't approach. She simply nods, a gesture of respect, then turns to leave. Jayden watches her go, surprised by the peace he feels. Maybe change doesn't happen all at once. Maybe it happens step by step, even in the hearts you least expect. That night, back home, Jayden places the plaque on his desk. He stares at it for a long time. It doesn't feel like a prize. It feels like a responsibility. A reminder that what started in a grocery store has grown into something bigger than him. As he lies in bed, Denise peeks in, whispering, "Good night, my brave boy." Jayden smiles faintly, closing his eyes. He knows now, he isn't just the boy in the line, he's a voice. And voices once heard can't be silenced. After the award ceremony, Jayden's life shifts again. Reporters call daily, his inbox floods with invitations, and strangers stop him on the street to thank him. At first, it feels exhilarating, validation that what he endured had meaning. But as the weeks pass, the weight grows heavier. One morning, while hurrying to school, a woman blocks his path. "My daughter was bullied. Can you come speak at her school?" she asks desperately. Before Jayden can respond, another man steps forward, shoving a flyer into his hands. "We're organizing a march. We need you there." By the time he reaches the classroom, he's late, breathless, and overwhelmed. Malik pats his shoulder. Bro, you don't have to be everywhere at once. Jayden forces a smile, but doubt gnaws at him. If he says no, will people think he doesn't care? At lunch, he sits with Rosa, who has brought empanadas from the store. You look tired, she says, pushing one toward him. I feel like everyone wants something from me, Jayden admits. Like I'm not a person anymore, just a symbol. Rosa nods. Symbols are powerful, but they're still human. Don't forget that. Her words stick with him. Meanwhile, the city continues to ripple with change. The council passes the anti-discrimination bill, mandating stricter enforcement in public spaces. A local university launches a scholarship program in Jayden's name for underprivileged youth. Jayden hears about it on the evening news, stunned. Denise beams with pride. Your name is opening doors for kids who've never even met you, she says. But Jayden wonders quietly, if his name is doing so much, why does he still feel so small inside? One Saturday, Malik drags him to the basketball court, insisting he needs a break. The game starts lighthearted, full of laughter and trash talk. But midway through, two older teens approach. One sneers, Hey, you're that kid from the video, think you're better than us now? Jayden freezes, old instincts tugging at him. Malik steps forward, protective. Back off. But Jayden lifts his chin. I don't think I'm better than anyone. I just know no one gets to decide my worth. The words hang in the air. For a moment, tension crackles, but then the teens smirk and walk away. Malik grins. That's my boy. Still standing tall. For the first time in weeks, Jayden feels grounded again. Later at the youth center, he leads a workshop with younger kids. He tells them about the pressure he feels, the doubts, the fear of not being enough. To his surprise, the kids listen intently, nodding. One girl raises her hand. It helps to know even you get scared. Makes me feel like maybe I can be brave too. Jayden smiles, realizing vulnerability doesn't make him weaker. It makes him relatable. That night, as he walks home, he notices Mrs. Whitfield leaving the reconciliation program across the street. She spots him and hesitates. For once, her posture isn't defensive. She simply nods and says, I'm trying. Jayden pauses, then nods back. Keep trying. It's not forgiveness, not yet, but it feels like progress for both of them. At home, Denise finds Jayden staring at the Youth Courage Award on his desk again. Still doubting yourself? She asks gently. Jayden shrugs. What if I mess up? What if I can't be who everyone thinks I am? Denise sits beside him. You don't have to be who everyone thinks. You just have to be who you are, the boy who stood his ground in a grocery line. That was enough then, and it's enough now. Jayden breathes deeply, letting her words settle. For the first time in weeks, the weight on his shoulders feels lighter. The weeks roll on, and Jayden settles into a rhythm. He balances school, the youth center, and occasional speaking events. For a moment, it feels like life might be returning to normal, but the calm doesn't last. One afternoon, his history teacher, Mr. Langford, announces a debate assignment. The topic, Systemic Racism in America, Fact or Fiction. Jayden's chest tightens. He knows exactly how this will go. Sure enough, when the debate teams are formed, Jayden ends up opposite a student named Bryce, who rolls his eyes and mutters, Here we go again. Bryce's friends snicker. After class, Malik warns Jayden, They're gonna come at you hard. You ready? Jayden hesitates. He's spoken to crowds of thousands, but somehow, standing in front of his classmates feels scarier. These are kids who see him every day, who know his past, who'll remember his mistakes. But Rosa, waiting by the lockers, offers quiet encouragement. You don't need to win their approval, just tell the truth. The truth always lands. The day of the debate, the classroom buzzes with anticipation. Mr. Langford calls Jayden first. He rises slowly, palms sweaty, and faces his peers. Systemic racism isn't fiction, he begins. It's reality. I know because I lived it. When a woman shoved a cart into me and told me I didn't belong, that wasn't just her opinion. It was a reflection of something bigger. A system that tells people like me we don't matter. The room quiets. Jayden continues, voice steadying. But here's the thing. We do matter. And when people stand together, they can challenge even the strongest systems. That's what I learned. That's what all of us can learn. He sits down to a smattering of claps from Rosa and a few others. Bryce rises next, smirking. With all due respect, Jayden, one lady being mean doesn't prove a system exists. People are just people. Some are rude, some are nice. That's it. A murmur ripples through the class. Some nod, others frown. Bryce continues, rattling off statistics he pulled from dubious websites. His friends chuckle, emboldened. Jayden clenches his fists under the desk, resisting the urge to shout. When the rebuttal round comes, he forces himself to breathe. Bryce says it's just about individuals. But if that were true, why do so many people have stories like mine? Why do black students get suspended at higher rates for the same behavior? Why do neighborhoods split by race have such different resources? That's not random, that's a pattern. And patterns are systems. This time, more hands clap. Even a teacher from the hallway pokes their head in, curious. After class, students crowd around. Some argue with Bryce, others praise Jayden. Malik beams, clapping him on the back. You crushed it, bro. Straight facts. But Jayden doesn't feel triumphant. He feels drained. Later that evening, at the youth center, he vents to Rosa and Luis. It never ends. No matter what I say, someone will twist it, mock it, ignore it. Luis leans forward. That's the point. Change isn't one speech or one debate. It's pushing through the noise over and over until people can't ignore it anymore. Rosa adds softly, and you don't have to do it alone. Jayden nods, their words sinking in. Meanwhile, Mrs. Whitfield continues her quiet transformation. At a reconciliation meeting, she volunteers to share her story. Voice shaking, she admits, I once shoved a young man in a store because of his skin color. I humiliated him, and I've lived with that shame ever since. The room is silent. Then a facilitator thanks her for her honesty. For the first time, Mrs. Whitfield feels a strange relief, not forgiveness, but a step toward it. Back at school, Jayden receives an unexpected email from Mr. Langford. I want you to lead a workshop on courage for the younger students. Think you're up for it? Jayden stares at the screen. The idea terrifies him, but then he remembers Rosa's words. You don't need to win approval. Just tell the truth. His fingers hover, then type a single word. Yes. The morning of the workshop arrives, and Jayden can't shake the nerves buzzing in his chest. He stands in front of the mirror, tugging at the collar of his shirt. Denise notices and places a steadying hand on his shoulder. You don't have to be perfect, she reminds him. Just be real. That's what people need from you. Jayden nods, though his stomach twists. At school, the auditorium is already filling with younger students, 6th and 7th graders who chatter loudly, tossing paper balls and laughing. Mr. Langford greets Jayden at the door, clapping him on the back. Don't worry, they'll listen once you start. Just grab their attention fast. Jayden walks onto the stage. The noise quiets slightly, but curious eyes remain skeptical. He grips the microphone. For a moment, his throat feels dry, words trapped. Then he remembers Denise's advice. He takes a deep breath. When I was your age, he begins, I thought being brave meant never being scared. I was wrong. Being brave means standing up even when you're terrified. The room stills. A boy in the front row leans forward, interested. Jayden continues, telling the story of the grocery store line, not the polished version the media plays, but the raw, messy truth. He describes the fear that gripped him, the humiliation when laughter echoed, the trembling in his hands. He pauses. I wanted to run. I wanted to disappear, but I didn't. And because I didn't, people around me realized they could stand too. A hush spreads across the auditorium. Jayden shifts to lessons. Courage isn't loud. Sometimes it's as simple as saying, that's not okay, when someone's being mocked, or choosing to sit with the kid eating alone. Courage creates ripples. You don't know how far they'll go. A girl raises her hand timidly. But what if people laugh at you, or call you names? Jayden nods. They might. They laughed at me. But here's the secret, those laughs don't last. What lasts is the respect you earn for yourself and the change you help create. The students exchange thoughtful looks. Even the restless ones quiet down. After the workshop, a group of kids swarm him. One boy says, I'm gonna stand up for my friend when bullies bother him. Another whispers, you made me feel like I matter. Jayden feels something shift inside him. He walked in fearing he'd fail. Instead, he leaves knowing he's planted seeds that may grow into courage in others. That afternoon, Rosa and Luis meet him at the youth center. We saw the live stream, Rosa says proudly. You killed it, Luis grins. Bro, those kids are gonna remember that day forever. Jayden blushes, but a smile creeps across his face. I think I finally get it. Being a leader isn't about having all the answers, it's about giving others permission to be brave. But not everyone is pleased. That evening, Jayden scrolls through social media and finds comments mocking the workshop. Kid thinks he's MLK Jr. Public schools brainwashing children. The words sting. Malik, sprawled on the couch, snatches the phone. Stop reading that garbage. For every hater, there are 100 kids who felt stronger because of you. Jayden sighs. I know, it's just the hate never really goes away. Denise overhears and steps in. No, it doesn't, but neither does hope. And right now, hope's louder than hate. Meanwhile, Mrs. Whitfield continues her journey. Inspired by Jayden's workshop, she volunteers at the youth center, offering to tutor struggling students in math. At first, parents are skeptical, but Rosa vouches for her. Slowly, she begins rebuilding trust. Jayden notices from afar. Part of him is still wary, but another part recognizes the courage it takes to step into the very community you once hurt. That weekend, Jayden receives another letter, this time from a civil rights foundation inviting him to a national youth conference. They want him to be a keynote speaker. Jayden stares at the letter, heart racing. It feels like the beginning of something even bigger than the grocery store, bigger than his city. He looks at Denise, Rosa, and Malik, who are all waiting for his reaction. A smile spreads across his face. Looks like we're just getting started. The day of the National Youth Conference arrives, and Jayden can hardly believe where his journey has taken him. From a tense line at a grocery store to a stage setup in Washington, D.C., he feels like he's stepped into someone else's story. The hotel ballroom is massive, decorated with banners that read, Youth Voices, National Change. Denise adjusts his tie nervously, fussing like she did for the Courage Award. Malik stands nearby, holding his phone like a proud manager. Rosa and Luis had helped organize a bus of students from the youth center who traveled to watch him speak. Their support surrounds him, yet Jayden's knees still shake. Remember, Denise whispers, you don't have to impress them. Just tell your truth. Jayden nods, repeating the words like a mantra. Inside the ballroom, hundreds of teens from across the country fill the seats. Some wear school uniforms, others t-shirts with slogans like Justice Now and Voices Matter. Activists, teachers, and parents mingle in the back. The energy buzzes with anticipation. When Jayden's name is announced, the audience erupts in applause. He takes the stage, the bright lights washing over him. He grips the podium, heart pounding. I never asked to be here, he begins, his voice steady but soft. I never dreamed of being a speaker, or a leader, or a symbol. I just wanted to buy groceries. But one choice, refusing to step aside, turned into something I couldn't have imagined. He scans the crowd, locking eyes with students leaning forward eagerly. My story isn't just mine. It belongs to anyone who's ever been told they don't belong. It belongs to kids who get overlooked, ignored, or shoved aside. And it proves one thing: when you stand firm, the world notices. The crowd cheers, clapping loudly. Jayden raises his hand for quiet. But courage isn't just for viral videos or big moments. It's for the everyday. It's when you choose kindness over cruelty, justice over silence. It's when you say, I matter and so do you. That's how change begins. He shares about Rosa's quiet strength, Luis's relentless support, Denise's sacrifices, and Malik's unshakable loyalty. He tells them about the workshop and the kids who promise to be brave. If they can find courage, so can you. By the end, the entire room rises to its feet in a standing ovation. Jayden's chest swells, not with pride but with relief. He said what needed to be said. After the speech, reporters swarm him. Cameras flash, microphones thrust forward. Malik shields him with playful bravado. One at a time, people. He's just a kid. Jayden laughs nervously but answers as best he can. What stands out most, however, are the students who approach him directly. One girl whispers, I'm going to start a club at my school because of you. Another boy admits, I thought I was too scared to speak up. But not anymore. Each word fuels Jayden more than any headline ever could. That evening, back at the hotel, Jayden sits on the balcony overlooking the city lights. Denise joins him with 2 cups of cocoa. You know, she says, you reminded me of your father tonight. He had a way of making people believe in themselves too. Jayden swallows hard, emotion catching in his throat. He rarely talks about his father. Gone too soon, leaving behind lessons Jayden is only now beginning to understand. Do you think he'd be proud? Jayden asks quietly. Denise smiles through tears. He'd be bursting. Meanwhile, back in their city, Mrs. Whitfield watches the speech online. She sits alone in her living room, face lit by the glow of the screen. When Jayden says, It belongs to anyone who's ever been told they don't belong. She feels the words pierce her. For the first time, she allows herself to cry, not out of guilt alone, but out of recognition that healing is possible. She opens her notebook and writes a single sentence. Tomorrow, I will apologize to him in person. The next morning, before leaving the hotel, Jayden receives a message on his phone. It's from a congresswoman who attended the conference. Your voice is powerful. We'd like to meet and discuss youth initiatives. Let's talk about the future. Jayden stares at the message, stunned. Malik peeks over his shoulder, eyes widening. Bro, you're about to change the whole country. Jayden exhales slowly, realizing his journey has only just begun. Jayden returns home from Washington with his head spinning. The city looks the same. The cracked sidewalks, the corner store, the buses groaning down the street, but he feels different. The congresswoman's message lingers in his mind. National initiatives, the future. It's almost too big to grasp. As he and Denise carry their bags inside, there's a knock on the door. Denise frowns. We just got back. Who could that be? When Jayden opens it, his heart skips. Standing there, clutching her purse with trembling hands, is Mrs. Whitfield. For a moment, the air freezes. Memories crash back, the shove, the laughter, the humiliation. Jayden stiffens, instinct screaming to slam the door. But something in her eyes stops him. They're not hard with scorn this time. They're soft, wet with unshed tears. Jayden, she begins, voice shaking. I don't expect forgiveness, but I needed to come here, to look you in the eye and tell you I was wrong. Denise folds her arms protectively, but she doesn't interrupt. Jayden says nothing, waiting. Mrs. Whitfield swallows. That day in the store, I thought I was powerful. I thought belittling you would make me feel important. Instead, it made me small. I've been carrying that shame every day since. When I watched your speech, I realized the only way forward was to own my actions. Jayden's jaw tightens. Do you know what you did to me? You made me feel invisible, like I didn't matter. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I know, and I am so sorry. I can't erase it, but I can change who I am now. I'm volunteering at the youth center. I'm learning, but I needed you to hear this directly. The room is heavy with silence. Denise watches carefully, ready to shield her son. Jayden feels a storm inside him. Anger, grief, but also a strange flicker of compassion. Finally, he exhales. I don't know if I can forgive you. Not yet, but I hear you, and I hope you keep changing. Mrs. Whitfield nods, relief flooding her face. That's all I can ask. She turns to leave, but pauses. Thank you for not shutting the door. When the door clicks shut, Denise wraps Jayden in a hug. I'm proud of you. You didn't let anger define you. Jayden whispers, it still hurts. I know, Denise replies softly. Healing takes time. News of Mrs. Whitfield's apology spreads quickly through the community. Some criticize her, saying she's just saving face. Others commend her courage. Jayden doesn't know what to think. But he does notice one thing. The kids at the youth center are watching closely. They're seeing an example that people can admit wrong and strive to be better. At the next workshop, a boy asks Jayden, if she can change, does that mean bullies at school can too? Jayden pauses, then answers honestly. They can, but it's up to them. And it doesn't erase what they did. Change doesn't mean forgetting. It means choosing to be better every day. The boy nods, thoughtful. Meanwhile, Malik can't stop teasing. Bro, you've got politicians texting you, old enemies apologizing at your door, and your face on billboards. You're basically famous. Jayden groans, throwing a pillow at him. I don't want fame. I just want peace. Rosa chimes in, serious. Peace doesn't come from hiding. It comes from pushing forward, even when it's uncomfortable. Jayden looks at her, realizing she's right. A week later, he sits across from the congresswoman in a downtown office. She leans forward, eyes sharp with conviction. Jayden, your story has inspired a movement. We're creating a national youth initiative to teach kids about courage, equity, and leadership. I want you on the advisory board. Jayden blinks. Advisory board? I'm 16. She smiles. Exactly. We need young voices, not just politicians. You don't have to have all the answers. You just have to be willing to speak truth. Jayden feels the weight of the offer settle in. It's intimidating, but also electrifying. He thinks of the boy who asked if bullies can change, the kids who promised to be brave, the ripple effect he's already seen. Maybe this is the next step. He nods slowly. Okay, I'll do it. The congresswoman extends her hand. Welcome aboard. That night, as Jayden lies in bed, he reflects on everything. The grocery store, the debates, the speeches, the apology at his doorstep. He realizes the story isn't just about injustice anymore. It's about transformation, for himself, for others, maybe even for the country. He whispers into the dark, "Dad, I hope you're watching. I think I'm finally ready." Jayden's new role on the advisory board brings opportunities he never imagined, but also pressures he never expected. Within days, emails flood in. Invitations to panels, requests for interviews, and even letters from kids across the country sharing their own stories of racism and courage. At first, Jayden tries to respond to everything. He spends late nights hunched over his laptop, eyes burning, typing replies. Denise worries. "You're 16, she reminds him. "You can't carry the weight of the world." But Jayden insists, "If people are reaching out, I can't ignore them." One evening, Rosa and Malik drop by and find him buried under papers. Malik shakes his head. "Dude, you're not Superman. If you burn out, you can't help anyone." Rosa adds, "Delegation is leadership too. You can't do this alone." Jayden reluctantly agrees to slow down, but the guilt gnaws at him. Every unread message feels like letting someone down. His first advisory board meeting is held virtually. Jayden logs in nervously, the screen filling with faces, educators, activists, policymakers, and a handful of other young leaders. The congresswoman chairs the meeting. "Today," she begins, "we're discussing how to implement the Courage curriculum in schools nationwide." Jayden listens as experts debate funding, logistics, and politics. He feels small, out of place, but then someone asks, "How do we make this resonate with actual students?" The congresswoman turns to him. "Jayden, you've been on the ground. What do you think?" His heart races, but he clears his throat. Kids don't need lectures, they need stories. They need to see people like them facing fear and finding courage. If you want them to care, let them hear from peers, not just adults. The room goes quiet. Then several heads nod. One educator says, "He's right. We need youth voices at the center." For the first time, Jayden feels his contribution is more than symbolic. It matters. Back at school, things aren't so smooth. Some classmates resent his new role. Bryce mutters loud enough for others to hear, "Mr. Famous thinks he's saving the world." His friends snicker. Jayden clenches his jaw, fighting the urge to snap back. Rosa notices and whispers, "Don't waste your fire on them. Save it for the places it counts." But the comments still sting. Fame hasn't shielded him from cruelty, it's made him a bigger target. Meanwhile, Mrs. Whitfield continues volunteering at the youth center. At first, the kids avoid her, whispering behind her back. But she persists, helping with homework, staying late to clean, listening more than she speaks. Slowly, walls begin to crack. One evening, Rosa tells Jayden, "I think she's really trying." Jayden remains cautious. Yet when he sees a group of younger kids laughing with her over math puzzles, he feels a flicker of hope. Weeks later, Jayden travels with the congresswoman's team to a nearby city for a pilot program. They visit a middle school where students are struggling with bullying and racial tensions. Jayden is asked to lead a session. As he steps into the classroom, whispers ripple. Some kids recognize him from TV. He feels the familiar pressure, but remembers his own advice. "Be real." "I'm not here to preach," he says. "I'm here because I've been where you are, scared, angry, unsure if I belonged. And I learned courage doesn't mean you're never afraid. It means you act anyway." He shares his story, then invites students to share theirs. One boy admits he's been bullied for his accent. A girl confesses she hides her lunch because kids mock her food. As voices fill the room, Jayden sees something powerful happening. Community. Later, the principal thanks him. They've never opened up like this before. Jayden walks out with a sense of purpose deeper than ever. This isn't about speeches or awards, it's about giving kids space to be heard. That night, back at the hotel, Malik teases him. National board member, community hero, celebrity, what's next? President? Jayden laughs, shaking his head. "No, I just want to make sure no kid feels as invisible as I once did." Rosa smiles. "Then you're already winning?" Jayden leans back, letting their words wash over him. The responsibility feels heavy, yes, but he's learning he doesn't have to carry it alone. Jayden's schedule grows more demanding each week. Between school, youth center workshops, advisory board meetings, and travel, his calendar is bursting. At first he manages with adrenaline and determination, but soon the cracks begin to show. One night, while working on a presentation for the advisory board, he dozes off at his desk. Denise finds him slumped over his notes, pen still in hand. She sighs and gently shakes him awake. "Baby, you can't keep this up. You're running yourself into the ground." Jayden rubs his eyes, groggy. There's too much to do." "There will always be too much to do," Denise replies firmly. "You need rest if you're going to keep fighting." But Jayden doesn't listen right away. He pushes himself harder, driven by a fear of letting people down. At school, the pressure intensifies. Bryce and his crew spread rumors, mocking Jayden for thinking he's a saint. A cruel meme circulates, using a photo of Jayden mid-speech with the caption, "Mr. Perfect saves the day." Though Jayden tries to ignore it, the whispers follow him in the hall. Rosa notices the slump in his shoulders. At lunch, she confronts him. "You can't let them win by carrying their poison." "I'm trying," Jayden mutters, "but it feels like no matter what I do, someone's laughing." Malik slams his tray down. "Then let him laugh. While they're stuck making memes, you're out here changing lives." Jayden forces a smile, but inside, doubt gnaws. The breaking point comes during a live interview on local television. The reporter asks him about balancing school with activism. Jayden tries to answer, but exhaustion clouds his mind. He stumbles over words, loses his train of thought. Clips of the awkward moment spread online, critics claiming he's in over his head. That night, he locks himself in his room, scrolling through the backlash. Denise knocks softly. "Jayden, can we talk?" Silence. She enters anyway, sitting beside him on the bed. "I know you're hurting, but you don't have to carry this burden alone. Remember, movements are built on communities, not just one person." Jayden whispers, "What if I'm not enough?" Denise pulls him close. "You don't have to be enough by yourself. You just have to keep showing up." A few days later, Rosa organizes a small gathering at the youth center. She invites the kids Jayden mentored, along with Malik and Luis. When Jayden arrives, confused, Rosa gestures toward the circle of faces. "Look at them," she says. "These are the seeds you planted. Do you see how they've grown?" One boy pipes up, "Because of you, I stood up to a bully." A girl adds, "I started a group at school. We talk about fairness and kindness." Jayden feels his chest tighten. He'd been so focused on what he hadn't done, he forgot to see what had already blossomed. Rosa leans in. "You're not failing, Jayden. You're building something bigger than yourself." Meanwhile, Mrs. Whitfield makes a bold move. She approaches Jayden after the gathering. "I know you still don't fully trust me," she admits, "but I'd like to help ease your load. Maybe I can handle tutoring or admin work at the youth center so you can focus on speaking." Jayden hesitates. Trust is still fragile, but then he remembers the students who vouched for her change. "All right," he says cautiously, "let's try." She smiles gratefully. It's a small step, but an important one. The following week, Jayden attends another advisory board session. This time, he speaks candidly about burnout. "We can't expect kids to be warriors 24/7. If we're teaching courage, we need to teach balance too. Otherwise, we'll break the very voices we're trying to lift." The congresswoman nods thoughtfully. "That's an excellent point, Jayden. We'll integrate wellness and rest into the curriculum." For the first time in weeks, Jayden feels a weight lift. His struggle had meaning. It could protect others from the same mistakes. That evening, he texts Rosa, "Thank you for reminding me I'm not alone." She replies instantly, "Always. We're in this together." Jayden smiles, leaning back against his pillow. The cracks in his armor are still there, but now he knows. They don't mean he's broken. They mean he's human. And humans don't win battles alone. The advisory board's work begins to spread beyond Washington. News outlets cover the Courage curriculum, highlighting Jayden's role as one of its youngest advisors. His face appears on websites and pamphlets. Some celebrate him as a rising leader. Others, however, react with hostility. At school, the tension sharpens. Bryce mutters snide comments in the hallway, but now more students join in. "Think you're better than us?" one sneers. Jayden tries to brush it off, but the weight grows heavier each day. One afternoon, after class, he finds his locker vandalized. Spray paint scrawls across the door, "Fake hero." A crumpled flyer of his youth center program dangles from the lock. Malik fumes when he sees it. "This is straight up harassment. We should report it." Jayden shakes his head, jaw tight. "If I run to the office, they'll just say I'm playing the victim." Rosa disagrees. "You can't let them silence you. The more they attack, the more it proves you're making a difference." Jayden exhales. I just don't want every battle to be a war. Meanwhile, the youth center flourishes. With Mrs. Whitfield taking on tutoring duties, Jayden has more time to focus on outreach. Slowly, the kids begin to trust her, especially after she shares openly about her mistakes. I don't deserve your trust, she admits one evening, but I'll work every day to earn it. Some kids nod, others remain cautious, but the effort is undeniable. During one workshop, a shy girl named Amina speaks up for the first time. I used to think my accent made me less, but now I realize it's part of who I am, and I'm proud. The room bursts into applause. Jayden catches Rosa's eye, both of them smiling. This is why they keep going. But outside the safe walls of the center, a storm brews. A local news segment invites Jayden and the congresswoman to discuss the curriculum. At first, the conversation is respectful, but then the host pivots sharply. Critics argue this program pushes a divisive agenda. Some say it paints America as broken. How do you respond? Jayden swallows hard. The cameras feel like 1,000 eyes drilling into him. He steadies himself. We're not saying America is broken. We're saying it's still growing. Teaching kids about courage and fairness isn't divisive, it's unifying. It's preparing them to build a better future. The congresswoman nods firmly. Jayden is right. Acknowledging challenges isn't weakness, it's strength. The host moves on, but Jayden senses the backlash coming. That night, social media buzzes with criticism. Hashtags accuse him of being anti-American. Strangers flood his inbox with insults. Denise sees the comments and tries to take the phone away. Stop reading them, Jayden. They don't know you. But the words sting anyway. Broken, liar, fraud. At school the next day, the hostility peaks. Bryce corners him near the stairwell. Saw you on TV last night preaching your little sob story. Guess what? Nobody's buying it. Jayden clenches his fists, every muscle screaming to lash out. But Rosa's voice echoes in his mind. Don't waste your fire on them. Save it for the places it counts. He takes a breath. Maybe you don't buy it, but others do. And that's enough. Bryce sneers, shoving past him. But for once, Jayden feels he won, not by fighting, but by refusing to break. Later that week, Malik drags Jayden to the basketball courts. You need to blow off steam. Forget speeches, forget trolls, just play. At first, Jayden resists. But as the ball bounces against the pavement, he feels tension slip away. For the first time in weeks, laughter comes easily. Malik grins. See, you're still you. Don't lose that. Jayden nods, realizing his friend is right. If he lets the storm consume him, he'll lose the very spark that made people listen. Meanwhile, Rosa takes on more responsibility at the youth center, organizing a new program where older teens mentor younger ones. You started the spark, she tells Jayden. Now let's keep it alive together. As Jayden watches the kids pair off, sharing stories and laughter, he feels hope rising again. Yes, the storm outside is real. But inside these walls, something stronger is taking root. The storm finally spills into the youth center. One Friday evening, as Jayden and Rosa prepare for a workshop, a group of angry protesters gathers outside. They wave signs reading, "Stop dividing our kids and keep politics out of schools." Their chants grow louder, echoing through the block. Inside, younger kids huddle together, nervous. Amina clutches her backpack. "Why are they so mad at us?" she whispers. Jayden kneels beside her. "They're not mad at you," he says softly. "They're scared of change, but we're safe in here." Still, the shouting rattles the walls. Denise arrives and immediately takes charge. "Everyone to the back room," she instructs calmly. "We'll keep the session going there." Her steady voice eases the tension. Rosa helps gather the kids while Malik locks the doors. "They don't get to shut us down," Malik mutters. Jayden feels his chest tighten. He'd expected online hate, maybe school trouble, but not this. Seeing grown adults yelling at children burns in his stomach. Inside the back room, Jayden tries to lead as if nothing's wrong. He tells the kids about finding courage in tough moments, but halfway through, his voice cracks. He excuses himself, stepping into the hallway where Rosa follows. "You okay?" she asks. Jayden shakes his head. "They're outside screaming like we're criminals. These kids didn't sign up for this. What if we're putting them in danger?" Rosa grabs his arm. "Listen, every movement that ever mattered faced moments like this. If you quit now, what message does that send? That hate gets to win?" Her words steady him. Slowly, Jayden nods. Later that night, the protesters disperse, but the damage lingers. Local news runs footage of the shouting crowd outside the youth center. Some commentators blame Jayden for bringing politics into a safe space. Others defend him, calling the youth center a beacon of hope. At school Monday morning, the backlash hits hard. Flyers appear in the hallway mocking him, hero or headache. Bryce and his friends laugh loudly when they see him. But something shifts. A group of freshmen step forward, tearing the flyers down. One says, "We've had enough. He's trying to help us. Back off." Jayden stares, stunned. For the first time, kids he barely knew are standing up for him. That afternoon, the congresswoman calls. "I saw what happened. Are you holding up?" Jayden hesitates. "I don't know. Some days I feel like I'm barely keeping it together." Her voice softens. "That's what leadership feels like, Jayden. It's not about never struggling. It's about choosing to keep going when you do. You're not alone. We've got your back." Hearing that lifts a weight from his chest. Meanwhile, Mrs. Whitfield proves her commitment again. She organizes a tutoring night to give parents a chance to see the youth center's work firsthand. "If they can witness the good happening here," she explains, "maybe we can quiet the noise outside." Jayden reluctantly agrees. On the night of the event, parents file in cautiously. Some look skeptical, but as they watch their kids beam with pride, sharing poems, math projects, and artwork, the atmosphere warms. A father claps Jayden on the shoulder. "Whatever they say out there, don't stop this. My son needed it." Jayden's chest swells. For every critic, there are families who see the truth. Later, back home, Jayden reflects with Denise. "I used to think courage was about standing tall no matter what, but maybe it's about standing even when your knees are shaking." Denise smiles. "That's the truest kind of courage." The next advisory board meeting arrives with heavy discussions. Several members bring up the protests, debating whether to scale back the program to avoid controversy. Jayden listens, then speaks firmly. "If we let fear dictate the work, then the protesters already won. The kids I've met, they need this, they deserve it, and I'm not going to let them down." The congresswoman nods. "Neither are we. The curriculum moves forward." Jayden exhales, relief mixing with resolve. That weekend, Rosa and Malik surprise him with a mural at the youth center, painted by the kids themselves. Bright colors swirl across the wall, spelling out one phrase in bold letters, "Hope is louder." Jayden stares at it, eyes stinging. For the first time since the storm began, he feels steady again. The mural, "Hope is Louder," quickly becomes more than just paint on the youth center's wall. Photos spread online, and soon kids from other neighborhoods arrive wanting to see it, touch it, and take pictures beneath its bold letters. Jayden never expected art created by children to strike such a chord, but it does. One afternoon, while he's admiring the mural with Malik, a news van pulls up. The reporter approaches Jayden. "This mural has become a symbol for resilience in the city. What does it mean to you?" Jayden pauses, choosing his words carefully. "It means we're still here. No matter how loud hate tries to be, hope speaks louder. And it's not just my voice, it's all of ours." The clip airs that evening, replayed across local networks. For once, the headlines aren't about protests or backlash. They're about kids painting their truth on a wall and refusing to let fear silence them. Yet the challenges don't vanish. A week later, another round of criticism erupts online, accusing Jayden and the youth center of indoctrination. But something is different this time. Jayden doesn't feel crushed under the weight of it. Instead, he notices dozens of people countering the hate with comments of support. Parents, teachers, even strangers stand up in defense of the center. Denise notices the shift too. "See, you don't have to fight every battle. Sometimes the people you inspire will fight for you." Jayden smiles, realizing she's right. He's no longer a lone figure bracing against the storm. He's part of a movement carried by many. The final test comes at a city hall hearing where officials debate expanding the Courage curriculum statewide. Protesters flood one side of the chamber, chanting angrily. On the other, parents and children hold signs painted with bright colors. "Hope is louder." Jayden sits nervously at the front, waiting to testify. His palms sweat and his heart pounds. Malik leans over. "You've got this. Just be real." When it's his turn, Jayden walks to the microphone. He sees the split crowd, the anger, the fear, the hope, and feels the weight of all their eyes. "My name is Jayden Lewis," he begins, his voice steady. "I didn't ask to become a symbol. I was just a kid standing in line at a store, but when hate tried to tell me I didn't belong, I stood my ground. And now I see that kids everywhere are facing the same choice, whether to stand tall or shrink away." The Courage curriculum doesn't teach kids to hate America. It teaches them to love it enough to make it better. For a moment, silence fills the chamber. Then the side with the hopeful signs erupts into applause. Even some officials who had looked skeptical lean forward, nodding. The council votes later that evening. The motion passes. The program will expand. Afterward, Rosa hugs Jayden tightly. You did it. You gave them no choice but to see the truth. Malik claps him on the back. Man, from grocery line to city hall. Who would have thought? Jayden laughs, though tears sting his eyes. Not me. Weeks later, the youth center hosts a celebration. Families gather under the mural, kids perform skits and songs, and parents bring homemade dishes. Denise beams as she watches her son laugh with his friends, free of the heaviness that once weighed him down. At one point, Mrs. Whitfield approaches Jayden. I want to thank you, she says, her voice trembling, not just for giving me a second chance, but for teaching me what change really looks like. Jayden nods. We're all still learning. That's what matters. As the evening winds down, Jayden steps outside for a moment of quiet. The city hums around him, lights glowing against the night sky. He thinks of the journey, from the day a stranger refused to stand in line behind him to this moment where an entire community has risen up in defiance of hate. He knows the fight isn't over. Hate doesn't vanish overnight, but he also knows something stronger has taken root. Hope, courage, unity. Malik joins him outside, tossing a basketball lightly in his hands. So, what's next, Mr. Famous? Jayden grins. Whatever comes, as long as we face it together. And as laughter drifts into the night, Jayden finally feels the echo of justice, not just in headlines or laws, but in the hearts of those who chose hope over fear.